Welcome to the talk show, Lighting the Educational Flame, with your host, Mark Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields and academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Today, our guest is Emmy Award-winning producer, radio host, casting director, and more, Monique Lore-Stinson. Monique is one of the busiest people in entertainment, and she talks with us today about how she got her start and how her passion drives her to achieve more each day.
Hello and welcome to the talk show, Lighting the Educational Flame, brought to you by Grade Success Education. I'm your host, Mark Hoberman. Today, our guest is Emmy Award-winning producer, radio host, casting director, and more, Monique Lore-Stinson. Monique, welcome to Lighting the Educational Flame.
Mark, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
So good to have you. And I was looking through your resume and I was going to read some more, but it's only about a half an hour show. We don't have that kind of time, but my God, it was like a Bible. So, very interesting.
Busy girl.
Yes, very busy. Monique, we always talk about following your passion on lighting the educational flame, and you have such a wide array of successes in entertainment. How did you first become interested in the business?
Oh, very good question, Mark. And I get this a lot. And it's funny because I stumbled upon it helping a friend. So it was a good deed that actually paid me back. My friend San Rima, he's popular in the casting world, and he's most notably known for his work with Playboy. And so before those days, he worked on many different game shows and casting for dating shows. And he asked me to help. He said I was really outgoing and I could talk to strangers, talk to anyone and engage them and help recruit them for the shows. And I kind of fell down the rabbit hole from there in a good way. So I helped a friend out once and it kind of just came into full circle and became a career for me.
Well, that's great because some people often say some good deeds go unpunished, but it sounds like your good deed went rewarded and set you on this amazing path. So that's really a good lesson for our viewers that, you know what, do those good deeds. And also everything's about connecting and networking. I know you know so much about that. So where were you when I started Grade Success Education 27 years ago? I had a startup. You gave me no help whatsoever.
It looks like you're flying.
Yeah, right. So what can you tell us about the startup on LA Talk Radio?
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun, Mark. The startup with Monique Lore on LA Talk is on Sundays at 4 o'clock. So just after this, we'll be going into the show. And we engage startup business owners at the startup level. And I believe that every phase of your business needs, assistance. So the startup level is very important for someone. You can get discouraged. You could run out of money. Your friends could tell you that your idea is stupid. So you really want support. And I found that I didn't have a whole lot when I started my businesses. So I wanted to be that for someone. And so it's really, really fun just engaging entrepreneurs from around the world, all different types of brands, and hearing their startup story, hearing the origins of their passions. So it kind of got started on a whim right before the pandemic, and I'm so glad I followed my intuition to start this talk every Sunday.
Well, definitely, you mentioned the pandemic, and because I started my tutoring business so many years ago, I have to tell you that some of the things you mentioned, if not all, are problems pre-pandemic. So you throw the pandemic into the works, and I know there are some people that did start some businesses. Some people closed some businesses. A business like mine and many businesses rely on word of mouth, but many businesses, as you know, need more volume than just word of mouth is phenomenal, but it's those new people always coming through and flowing through. What are some of the real struggles you've been able to help people overcome? And I've had many, and I wish there was someone like you back then when I started, but what are some of the struggles you've helped people overcome and pitfalls? And I found that, I made so many mistakes now. I could save people money based on the money I lost. So I know much of this may have come from your experience in your own business, but what are some of these struggles that people and obstacles they face?
Really good question, Mark. I would say that some of them are within the startup structuring and formation of the business. They say your walls have to be strong. You can't put the roof on before you put the structure down. So I find that getting a website and domain names come before people trademarking. So I like to steer them in the direction of make sure that you've got the fundamental formation down first. Make sure you trademark your brand, make sure that it's yours, get your legal things out of the way, get the right structure of your business, make sure you know if it's going to be an S Corp, C Corp, LLC. So those things fundamentally, I think, are the most important first. And I think also finances, what are we spending things on in the beginning, maybe helping them, like, you say in the beginning, we do make mistakes. Financial mistakes are things that we can help each other with. So just kind of guiding them in that direction and keeping it lean in the beginning, very, very lean. I made the mistakes of like getting phone numbers and, buying all these extra things that I didn't really need in the beginning. So staying lean and focused and consistent is probably the things that have helped people down the line.
I have to tell you that great answer. Speaking for myself, that staying lean part is unbelievable because there's such a difference in my own, and I do speaking engagements and I've done camp training and school training. But when I started the tutoring business, I did not stay lean because there is being a tutor and then a tutoring business. And oh my God, there's so many different things, but I was doing commercials I never should have done. I was placing ads I shouldn't have placed yet. And that money would have been better spent in so many other things. And I have to say that when you say stay lean, I want to say to you, oh, that's obvious. No, it's not.
Right.
It's not obvious. And you really think everything you mentioned, it sounds like we talked a month ago and you said, Mark, what mistakes did you make with the phone numbers and the web, everything? I had to get everything in place day one. So
well, you were excited,
Yes,
you were excited about it.
Right. Well, because you mentioned passion, that word we say on the show all the time, following your passion. And I wasn't an educator for over 30 years, and I was passionate about it. But, being I hope a great teacher is not the same as a great business person. And, and to turn that passion into a business, not easy. So you mentioned some incredible pitfalls. What are the one or two major pitfalls that the average person comes to and you're like, boy, this happens almost all the time, and let me help you put the brakes on this right now? What might that mistake be that they make?
I would say not having a clear marketing strategy. I think that, like you say, you can be a good tutor, but maybe not so strong in the business aspect of it. You have to be open to being a salesperson, and you have to say that dirty word to yourself. So that's a pitfall that I find. Like, if you know you're not good at speaking to people and asking them for money and feeling comfortable in that, you have to find a team that will. And surround yourself with those skills. But you have to be a salesperson. If you're passionate about your brand, you should get paid for it. Money is energy, and you put energy into your brand. And I had to kind of heal those, things growing up, around money, the funny things that you learn and pick up in your childhood, perhaps. So I would say getting comfortable with the sales aspect of your business and being a salesperson and respecting your time and being okay with asking for what you're worth. I don't know if that was a good answer to your question, but I know that stands out for me.
I have to be honest with you. It was a frightening answer to my question because I almost want to say, get out of my head, because you are telling me exactly the things that happened, that I've seen, that I've lived. And it sounds like, you consulted with me a month ago and you've looked at all my stuff and said, okay, Mark, here's what I see. Because I hate sales. I have friends who are in sales and they love it. And I say, how could you like? And I love talking to people. But I was always like, look, I think I'm really good at what I do and people should hire me. No. How do they know it? You're good at what they do. They're not in your head. They don't know. And I was always like, I don't like the salesy part. And it is everything in business, I think, is sales. And
it is.
I was a little frightened, but now I realize it's not the open the door, I put the foot in. I want to sell you some vacuum cleaners. It's not that kind of sales, but they are kind of interconnected. So phenomenal advice. I do want to shift to one of the many, many other things that you do. And I know that you have some exciting projects in the realm of documentaries, but could you share with our viewers your incredible story? I know there's a special story of how you actually launched your documentary film business.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that was also kind of whimsical as well. I find with myself that I just go for it. And I gave myself permission to do that. I said, you know what? I've been working for production companies for 21 years now, off and on. I've been a day player, as they call it in the business, for a long time. And I think now is the time to just give myself permission. I'm at the age now, I'm 43, that I just go for it. So I launched it about 2 years ago, lightly. And when I say that, it was, kind of like, all right, I have a name, Latchkey Kid. That's used all over the place. So I first did some research to see who was using it and how they were using it. And so I put right away some things in place to get the trademark. So taking my own advice there, and so my partner in my wine business actually helped me get it started. She was interested in it. Her name's Leah Solberg at Michael Solberg Family Wines, and a really close dear friend of mine. So I kind of got into her ear about it, and she said yes. And so we kind of jumped in. So she's a not so silent partner anymore, I guess. I just added her, but she wouldn't mind. So I put that in place, and the name comes from my own life and my experiences as being a latchkey kid, kind of, keeping that key, coming home and your parents are still working, and you got to get yourself together and get your homework done and your dinner and get your siblings together. And so I think it's people reminisce over that title, and when they get excited about it. So we launched that right before the pandemic, Mark, and immediately had content, had things to do, and stories to share. And so it's a little shift from my dating shows and getting people hooked up on MTV. It's not as lighthearted. It is real stuff we're dealing with. Justice for Andre and Bryson, justice for Jackie. These are police brutality issues that I'm tackling, and I feel need a voice, and the families need a voice. And unfortunately, Mark, there's more than enough work in that niche. But that's what we're doing. That with a combination of some corporate videos and some other things, but that's where we're headed.
Incredible stuff. And I have to tell you that if you're 43, you just ruined my week. I'm just saying, because you said you were in the business 21 years. I was going to say, oh, you started when you were 6. That's lovely.
I love you.
So that's great. So so much energy, just emanates from you. But this pandemic was 15 months or so of horror. How did you help people pivot their business who already had a business, versus how did you help some people actually create a business during the pandemic? Because that is a very tall order, and never before in the history of your career, I don't think you have had to do that before.
Right. And kind of, it takes me back to when you get on the airplane, Mark, and they say, all right, put your mask on first, and then you can assist others. So before I could do anything for anybody, I had to put my mask on, so to speak, and sustain myself. And I had my hand in many different things. And so I had to get lean again with where that money was going, and kind of stop and pull in a little, because I like to say yes and come from a place of yes, but it had to come to a stop. So I reassessed everything around me and quickly jumped into producer mode and said, all right, all these events are off the table, in-person events, right? But you know what? I can start interviewing people. And that's just what I did. Everyday people, survivors, first responders, everybody wanted to talk also, because we didn't know what we were doing, and we were scared, and we were anxious. So I helped a lot of people, I believe, kind of go inward and get focused on what is important, and get lean again about what they need. And also, we all were doing it, we cutting down on our budgets and looking at what was important. And so, when I was a little girl, my dad, coming up anyway, my dad said, just focus on the main things, the house first, well, food, house, and then car, and then everything else you can work around. And so I kind of did that with the businesses as well. To your question about who I helped launch during the pandemic, there's a gentleman that stands out to me. He was in Nassau, Bahamas, and I was waiting for my flight. And I was sitting at one of the local coffee shops, and they had like a bar and a lounge. And he was a friend of a fisherman that I met. And he just almost was in tears, Mark. And he's just like, what's going on over there? Everything stopped here. I've lost everything. And those were the stories I was looking for, during this documentary. And I said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to start your Instagram page. And right then I gave him some hope, and he messaged me today. Actually, I have to get back with him. And he said, thank you so much. Because we gave him a lane that he can move into. And even though it's not much, I showed him how to do it, and he's relaunching something he's working on something. So that's something that jumps out at me when it comes to the pandemic.
That sounds so rewarding, but also I'd like to circle back about something you said. We talk on the show often about role models, mentors, if you will. And it sounds to me like you had a role model and a mentor in your dad. And what could you tell us about that?
Yes, actually, it's interesting that you've pointed that out. My father actually was well, let me get the title right. He was league champion. We were both league champions for the same race in the same league, different generations, of course, different decades. He was a 100-meter hurdler champion, and so was I in the same league. And how that came about, it was kind of interesting. How that came about was he would take me to the track and I would see him running. And I don't know if he was doing that subconsciously, planting seeds in my head.
Right.
And then now that I think back, the track coach came up to me one day and says, "I'm going to make you a hurdler." So I now, as an adult, I look back, I'm like, I wonder if he talked to the track coach, but it wound up working out. And so I would say in that lane, my father's been really, really helpful. He gave me a gift that gives me confidence, and I revert back to my sportsmanship when I have a problem. And I find that those skills are all because of him, actually. So
that's great. And I have to tell you that in another life, I was a cross-country track coach at the high school where I taught. And to do that kind of sport is you have to be very dedicated. You have to have incredible perseverance. And I know for a fact that carried over into your business life, couldn't help but carry over to that. So it's great that you had that kind of background. Well, when you talk more about absolutely. When you talk more about the business aspect, when people hear the word branding, you see behind me, I have my logo and stuff. That's what I thought branding was. Mark, do you have a brand? Yeah, it looks like this. No, that's not a brand. That might be part of your brand. But when people hear that word, they just don't know what true branding is. What advice can you give to entrepreneurs if they said, "Hey, you want me to do good branding, Monique? I will." What does good branding look like?
Sure. Actually, great question. And, having your signage is important. Today, I don't. Sorry about that, guys. But, it's something that doesn't stop from 9 to 5, right? So now with Instagram and social media and all the different outlets that we have, it's important to be consistent in your branding. And I tell people to separate. So when you have an Instagram page for your personal life, and I think you should definitely still have a personal life, but you have to have your pages for your brand, and it should only be your brand. It shouldn't be your political views. It shouldn't be your religious views. It shouldn't be your personal views. It should just be your brand, and it should move and operate neutrally, I believe, personally. And it should be consistent. Put timers on it. It should celebrate the holidays that people celebrate. Happy 4th of July, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and be engaging with your audience. But it's definitely a social media world. It's not going to change. I think that it will change in different ways, but it's here to stay, I believe. And you should definitely embrace it. Messaging with your brand should be consistent, and you should know what your brand is. I had an ex-boyfriend asked me in the beginning, "But what is your brand?" And he was good to be hard on me that way because I didn't clarify exactly what this brand was doing. So if you look at the wine caterers, for instance, if you go to my Instagram page, it's highlighted exactly what it is: custom labels, Hollywood events, and custom wine tastings. So that's what the wine caterer is. So you want to be clear about what your brand is and stay true to that.
Outstanding advice. Unbelievable. Let me ask you a question. Is your full name your brand or part of it? You in particular?
Yes.
Let's get the whole thing. I want to hear it. How does it roll off the tongue? Let me hear your whole name, your whole brand.
Monique Lore on the radio. And every day when I'm going to the store, it's Monique Lore-Stinson.
Outstanding. Excellent. That's important because some people think their name is their brand when it's not. And some people, their name is their brand. So,
right.
Yes.
Yeah. It depends on what you're doing, right, Mark? So
right.
For me on the radio on Sundays, Monique Lore is my brand, and I move in that space, and I'm okay with. I had to be okay with that. To get okay with lending my persona to people who watch. I'm very private usually, but I had to become unprivate, especially during a pandemic and Zooming. Right, we were in the Zoom world, StreamYard. So yes, your name can be your brand. I mean, I think that the Kardashians did a really great job, where you hate them or you love them, using their name as a brand and just from being themselves. But they learned that from Paris Hilton. So she was the originator of that, I believe. So
So true, so true. I have to ask you a question. The Pandemic Project documentary, so many awards already, such recognition. What can you tell us about your pleasure? What can you tell us about your participation in that project?
Sure, Mark. This happened right when everything was stopping, and I swiftly got myself into, all right, what are you gonna do? Something, just so you gotta do something, right? So I just said, what do I have? What assets do I have? What can I offer? And I've been blessed with really great health. And I know that I'm responsible, and I'm not going to go somewhere, not wear a mask, and not love my neighbors. So I was fully on board with wearing a mask, 2 masks, whatever I needed to do. And I quickly made some calls, and that included a call to a producer friend, Gentry Stanley, who I worked with in the past at MTV and other places. And I knew that he would be down for anything. And I knew that he had a drone. And so I got him he lives on a boat, and I got him off his boat, and I said, come on, you're coming with. And I called my strategist friend, who's also a banker, who you need in a storm like this. And that's Christopher John. And he had never been on camera before. So I got to christen him there. And we just went around the country, and we bootstrapped it. And, they start in the startup world, bootstrapping, we kept it very lean. Mark, flights were unbelievably affordable, and I was able to bring them with. Yes. And so I just hustled, and we interviewed, it's a hefty show. It's going to be 90 minutes long. Our trailer already breaks the rules. Mm-hmm. It's 7 minutes and 58 seconds. And we met a lot of encouraging, powerful, beautiful humans in America that changed our lives. So it's about people telling their stories in this moment in history. And I'm so grateful we got to document it. And we're working on the international version now, actually.
Excellent. So exciting. So exciting. I'm almost afraid to ask this next question because it'll make me feel like I'm not doing enough. What is next for Monique Lore-Stinson? And is that another half-hour show?
No, come on, Mark.
Because you're just so busy. But what's next for you? I'm sure you got so many things on the horizon, so many ideas and things popping out. What do we have to look forward to next?
I'm working on, finishing a couple books. Of course, there's a pandemic book, being on the road and meeting all these beautiful people. I want to write that down. So I'm working on that. I have a personal book, Token Reality book. It's cheeky, it's tongue in cheek. I'm a little sarcastic. And it's about being a reality TV producer and all the craziness that goes on and the people that we meet. So I've been working on that forever because I want to tell my stories, but I don't want to get sued over them. So I have to do this in the right way. And, there's a coffee brand, Silicon Beach Coffee Company, that's still in the works. And I would like to actually have a family, Mark. So maybe the pandemic slowed me down a little bit to make that happen. So maybe I'm working on that later.
That'd be great. Another good production. That'd be great. So, and how do people find out more about you, Monique?
Sure, you can find me on Instagram. I kind of hang out there mostly. Monique Lore-Stinson, that's MoniqueLoreStinson. Or you can tune in at 4:00 today Pacific time and see me on LA Talk Radio. I'll be there.
Excellent. Yeah. Always busy, always busy. Monique, I can't thank you enough for joining us and telling us about the inner secrets of the business, the struggles that people have to overcome, and the transparency and honesty, because it is a wonderful thing to follow your passion, and to turn that into a business is even better, but it's not always so easy, which makes it all the more rewarding. So thank you for those great hints of strategies. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. And to our viewers, this is Mark Hoberman thanking you for watching Lighting the Educational Flame, and have a great day. Monique, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Lighting the Educational Flame. To contact Mark Hoberman, email him at info@gradesuccess.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Lighting the Educational Flame.